Time for an AFN News Update for you. I'm Bronson Woodruff. Hope you had a great Easter. Pope Francis died today. He was 88 years old. He was the first Latin American pontiff. He was elected Pope in 2013 after then Pope Benedict stepped away for health reasons. Bells tolled in church towers across Rome after the announcement, which came from the chapel of the Domus Santa Marta, where Francis lived. Cardinal Kevin Farrell said, quote, "At 7:35 this morning, the Bishop of Rome, Francis, returned to the home of the Father. His entire life was dedicated to the service of the Lord and of his church," end quote. Francis entered Gemelli Hospital on February 14th for a respiratory crisis that developed into double pneumonia, and at 38 days became the longest hospitalization of his time as Pope. Part of his right lung was removed in the late 50s after a bout of pneumonia, and he had chronic lung disease. The White House is denying a New York Times story. It says an anonymous source claims Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth created another signal messaging chat, and that this one included his wife and his brother. The report says in the chat that he shared similar details of a March military airstrike against Yemen's Houthi terrorists. The AP reports that a person familiar with the contents and those who received the messages and remained anonymous because of sensitive matters confirmed the second chat with them. Both his wife and his brother Phil have traveled with the Defense Secretary and attended high-level meetings. The White House and Pentagon said late Sunday that disgruntled former employees were spreading false claims with this report. U.S. Vice President JD Vance arrived in India today for a 4-day visit. New Delhi is looking to avoid U.S. tariffs, negotiate a bilateral trade deal with Washington, and strengthen ties with the Trump admin. Vance is scheduled to meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the first day of his largely personal visit. The two leaders are expected to hold discussions on bilateral ties outlined in February when Modi met President Trump in Washington. The U.S. is India's largest trading partner, and the two countries are now holding negotiations aiming to seal a bilateral trade agreement this year. They have set an ambitious target of more than doubling their bilateral trade to $500 billion by 2030. If achieved, the trade deal could significantly enhance economic ties between the two countries and potentially strengthen diplomatic ties as well. A slow-moving active storm system brought heavy rain, large hail, and tornadoes to parts of Texas and Oklahoma over the Easter weekend. It left 3 people dead. On Easter Sunday, communities in Texas and Oklahoma were beginning to look through the damage from tornadoes. There were 17 reported events Saturday, according to Bob Orvik, lead forecaster with the National Weather Service's Weather Prediction Center. 5 were confirmed in south-central Oklahoma. The storm also brought heavy rain to a broad swath of north-central Texas across central eastern Oklahoma, much of which saw 2 to 4 inches accumulate Saturday and Sunday. You can find more on these stories as well as more news from a Christian perspective on our website, afn.net. That is afn.net. Thanks for watching. I'm Bronson Woodruff.